Hey, after all my cons, but dropping this drop, you know, we appreciate it because we talking Romani. One of my cons said, sorry, I forgot you. I don't have your name right here, but you know who you are. Hey, man, drop, man. This is off the balcony, man. So love to you. You know who you are. And we appreciate you for this one. He gave us some off the balcony Rimani. Remember, Riman means pomegranate in the Hebrew. Moses and Joshua sent Moses and Moses sent Joshua and Caleb to get the pomegranates, which prove that they were in the promised land, right? So the pomegranates are the promised land proof, which is the Riman in Hebrew, and they changed it to Roman. So these Romans are Riman, promised land peoples, Romani. Originally, Swarthi Nagas are the promised land Nagas, are the Hebrews of India. Superior. Love to the con Gaddy, Dean, Gaddy, D'Angelo. Let's go. Oh man. I got you. Let me get the volumes, man.
But they say, so let me give you a little synopsis. What they was called before Mardi Gras Indians. They was called Romani gypsies or Egyptians. Think I'm lying. Now this blew my mind. Now as always, they say they came here, right? But I marked it all in yellow. Now you can read for yourself, but I'm gonna get to the meat and potatoes after this. But they was called gypsies, race so dark and swarthy, right? But they say, but they have since disappeared, right? They was dark complexion, right? But they said they came with the Spaniards. Receipts! Now, so-called, when the Spanish French ruled between 1762 and the 1800s, the Spanish sent Romani slaves, so-called, right? Remember, they called Romani, we was called African slaves, right? So you see Romani to Louisiana in the early 1700s in the Louisiana colony as enslaved peoples.
Romanis, Hebrew word of the day, Hebrew word, Rimon. Body bag for the illusion. So the Rimani is the Rimon. They turned that to Roman Managi. So the Roman title is Hebrew, Riman. They just changed the vowels. Is pomegranate. Rosh Hashanah, right? Yeah, this is the apple. The magic apple. Yep. Nothing to see here, boss. We're talking the pomegranate, promised land, Rimani, found in the promised land.
Nah, they still the same peoples. Just like you say, the black indigenous Indians disappeared, reclassified as African Americans. Now, you thought I was lying. Romani culture in Louisiana. Now, what they figured out that the maps is turned backwards because the Egyptian and Romani peoples were often called Bohemian or Egyptian, right? So, wait, so let me get this straight. So they yet disappeared, but not called Mardi Gras Indians, but they disappeared? But yet they found 2,000-year-old artifacts, Roman tombstones, right, in New Orleans, right? But they say, oh, well, it was influenced by the Roman Empire in New Orleans. What?
That reminds me of the Kalelos artifacts that got the Rimani written on them, literally. Rimani, Roman, you know what I mean? I'm just, just doing a quick roundup, but My wave surfers already know. I might have to go to Yandex for this one, man. Might have to go to the Yandex, man. Hey, we're gonna get back on 2030. Oh boy. Let's go Cataclysms, Rimoni, Roma, artifact, you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, man. So these artifacts had Latin, Greek, Hebrew. And it's a book by Cyclone Covey, Cataclysms, a Roman Jewish colony in America. Stop it. We ain't talking about no colony in America. We're talking about the actual Americans. Not Jewish, but the Hebrews. Not Roman, but Romani. You see, and they're finding these artifacts that have everything to do with the Hebrews, the Makir, Ben Judah. The Ameri is America. They don't tell you this is where America come from. Literally from Makir, Ameri. Why? Because all this was already happening. Cataclysms records speak of Theodorus as the leader of many people who leave the Romani lands for Cataclysms 775. The Ameri, we're talking about David warriors, Davidic warriors. Then Nehemiah reconquers the American Empire. Come on, this is what he's pulling up from, but he don't, have all the pieces, but none of us do, right? So the swan is the barbar. We got that. The barbari, the barbarians. Barbar is swan in Hebrew. Barbar. Barbary treaties are all about the swan knights of Sylvanus Toltecs, or Solomon the Builder, King Solomon. The Toltecs come from the same line, Judah, Solomon, Bravo, Babar. I mean, look, man, I want to see these artifacts. Because we got a lot more reading to do. These things connect. The Toltecs, Amarik, right? Cataclysms is King Israel V of Roda. You think this is play, man? Israel II, Israel I. Is it play, man? Some of these old links don't even work no more. they done shut some of this stuff down. Let's go back here to Yandex right quick, man. I want to see if we get some images. They got all kind of artifacts. I just want the Cataclysms ones, though, man. I'm going to take off Romani right quick. I just want the Cataclysms artifacts. They're still trying to figure out what all this is. I think on one of these I think this one right here, they got a, what is this? This is what they're pulling out of Arizona. They're dating back to the 700s AD, way before Roman this, and they want you to think some Caucasians were ruling America 700, so they must be the indigenous people now, right? Damn. Yeah, they wrote about it, man. They put it out there. Puzzling relics dug up in Arizona. This was in their, news feeds. Somewhere on, I think this cross here says Roman or Romani. I need to see a much closer joint of it so I can pull it out. Sorry, it's all fuzzy, but you see they're writing about these artifacts that's just popping up in Arizona. And then they swept it under the rug, buried it beneath the Smithsonian, never to be seen again. Very interesting, though. Very interesting. All right. Where we at? Rimoni. Pomegranate.
What? What? Stop. Come on now. Come on now. They say New Orleans have later historical connections to the Romani peoples. Of course, because they never left. The peoples are still there. Romani, Egyptian, Gypsy, they still there.
So, he's happy about them being Egyptians. We understand that Egypt, the Hebrews, Grand Canyon, all this is on the same land, right? So now the biblical story can play out right here in the old world, the India Superior, right? So, yeah, if you got Egypt here, you got Israel here, right? You got King Solomon here, Solomon the Builder here. So, yeah, we got black people, but there is no such thing as black people. You got different tribes of melanated biblical tribes right here. You got Mizraim, Egyptian tribes, different things right here. The Gypsies are the Egyptians. We already established that, but a lot of them connect with the Psalms 83 Confederacy. They connect with the Moabites. They connect with the Canaanites. Esau and them. And all that. You know what I mean? So they've been at war with Jacob right here at home. But the Rimoni are the promised land Nagaz, not synonymous with Egypt. But the Egyptians want to steal the promised land, so they'll steal the title Romani too. But the true Romani are the true Nagaz of the pomegranate. And the true Nagaz of the pomegranate are the true Hebrews of the promised land. Last one is this, man. We surfing the wave on the IG. Y'all, man, make sure you checking in on the IG flow. Yeah, get that last drop. 25 hertz set apart frequency. Get part 1, man. This is part 2. We keeping it going. And again, back to these Indians. Let's talk about the paper genocide that changed these Romanis into black and African American.
That occurred, and there was that occurred, and there was the
one more time. I gotta get it quick.
paper genocide that occurred.
You said paper genocide occurred. Go ahead.
And there was the officials in Virginia deliberately expunged the records. They destroyed the official records and most of the private records. I've got a statement that gets into the whole thing, but basically, a lot of Virginia's ruling elite claimed to be blood descendants of Pocahontas, and in their view, that meant that no one else in Virginia could make a claim that they were Native American, a descendant.
Stop. So Pocahontas, when you recount the story, I think she's connected to HAWAH or Pushmata, one of these tribes that connect to the Psalms 83 Confederacy, right? They were against the Kumse, against Dragon Canoe, against the Chickamauga. He ended up getting some type of honorary title in the U.S. government. She ended up, turning over some type of information or being used as a spy. So they're connected to that side of the family that turned against the Kumse. And by connecting to that side of the family that turned against the Kumse, welcomed them in, they then hijacked that entire line and used that to push all Nagas out of being considered Indian, period, because they can connect to Pocahontas and we somehow can't connect to Pocahontas. She's the one. You got to connect to Pocahontas to be a real U.S. Citizen, recognized Native American. But what about the tribes that she worked against, right? What about the tribes that her family warred against and killed off? You know what I'm saying? So this is how crazy that is. You got to connect on paper to the op. You got to connect on paper to the enemy to be considered you. Yeah, I'm talking about you, my nigga.
Pocahontas, because to do so would mean that Virginia's ruling elite would have to be classified as all other non-whites were, which was, in quotes, and this was the law, the inferior Negroid race. This is what
Ooh, I told you it's about you. So if you can't connect to Pocahontas, you are an inferior Negroid on paper. They say the pen is mightier than the sword. I don't know. We got the sword and the pen against us on our backs.
Was about. And with enormous hypocrisy, Virginia's ruling elite pushed policies, got them passed, and it culminated with the Racial Integrity Act of 1924. There was a paper genocide. There was a paper genocide that occurred. And there was the officials in Virginia deliberately expunged the records. They destroyed the official records and most of the private records. I've got a statement that gets into the whole thing, but basically, a lot of Virginia's ruling elite claimed to be blood descendants of Pocahontas, and in their view, that meant that no one else in Virginia could make a claim that they were Native American or descendant of Pocahontas, because to do so would mean that Virginia's ruling elite would have to be classified as all other non-whites were, which was, in quotes, and this was the law, the inferior Negroid race. This is what it was about. And with enormous hypocrisy, Virginia's ruling elite pushed policies, got them passed, and it culminated with the Racial Integrity Act of 1924. There was a paper...
That's Representative James Moron at the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs or something like that, September 25th, 2008, man. And love to Aboriginal_B on IG. Certainly, I said certainly got the drop. We got time for a couple more. Come on, bro.
There was a paper genocide.
I heard you, brother. We got time for a couple more, man. How about this one?
I'm telling you, the world is not ready for all the things that have been hidden from us for hundreds of years. Everything I show you in this short video is 1000% fact. So don't get mad at the messenger because your history teachers lied to you. Let's start. Fact 1. Did you know that all the islands and all the continents moved out of their place to new places? California used to be an island. The continents did kind of like Pangea. They were all very close together. And some major cataclysm happening, separating everything from itself. Fact 2. Did you know the stars did indeed fall from heaven? They say it happened in the 1800s, but if you know, then you know our civilization started in 1776. Or right about...
The sky seemed to explode with falling stars. It sounded like either a meteor shower or, it definitely had to do with dragons, man. 1833 was right in the middle of the Cherokee Wars. And it was like 16 years, 13. It's like 20 years after the fall of Tecumseh. That was 1812, so about 21 years after Tecumseh's fall, falls the stars.
Then, when this happened, every eye in the world saw it. Fact 3, did you know that all of our railroad tracks were discovered, and were discovered meters under...
Hold up, how can all the eyes see the stars falling on a ball? Can you imagine being on a spinning ball at 1,000 miles per hour, and all the stars start falling to Earth? Wouldn't some be falling up, some falling sideways? Like, the stars on the bottom of the ball are falling into the ball, and the stars on the top of the ball. That's just chaos, man. Clearly, you're on a flat, firm, fixed plane, flat plane. Then everybody could look up and see the stars falling. Then everybody could look up and have the same exact up. Up is the same for everyone on a flat plane. This ain't confusion, man. HAWAH ain't the author of confusion. Up is the same for everybody. That's why we can all see HAWAH, the dome opening up at the same time. On a ball, nah. Everybody sees a different sky, different stars. You're supposed to, but you're still spinning at 1,000 miles per hour. But did you know that they did not build these train tracks, the railroads? They just dug them up and discovered them pre-built, already built. Ain't that some shit?
Under the mud and dirt and go all the way from South America to the up northernmost tip of everything. Do you get it? Yep, the same place the auroras come from. Yep, the same place with Rubus Nigra in the 4 quadrants of land. The place where Google Maps will kick you off. Oh, and by the way, did you know that probably the second most anticipated character of the entire Bible in the book of Daniel traveled to this North Mountain? Guy wanted to be like God. Yes, everything was melted in our near past. Fact 4. And I surely mean everything. You'll find melted buildings, melted rocks, melted canyons all over the earth. Why isn't that in the history books? This one's actually pretty scary. Fact 5. Did you know that the Mount of Olives was in fact splitted exactly half a mile to Azel? Even more so, they built in the crack of the Mount Olives after 1800. They just filled it up. Because this, my friends, was Jerusalem in the 1800s. It looks like something massive had taken place right here. By the way, did you know that Nero Caesar demanded worship as God? If you didn't do it, he would unalive you? And quite literally, all of Jerusalem was desecrated and destroyed in 70 AD. What are we at, fact 6 now? Did you know that the whole entire earth, after the melting, caught fire and destroyed all the buildings everywhere? Just look around me. Stick with me, they're only facts. Where are we at, fact 7? Did you know that the sun went dark for literally 18 months? Again, the date. 536 AD. But in the history of wars, they wrote that men were free neither from death nor pestilence nor any kind of anything bad for this whole time it went dark. Like the whole time the sun went dark, there was massive tribulation on all the people. Scientists now try to say it was volcanoes, but this does not match historical records, as the sun was dark everywhere in the earth at that time. And if you're curious why I never trust their dates, we have caught these people in the act adding 1,000 or 500 years to buildings. Straight up slopping on another 1,000 years. Look, I have been studying eschatology, history, and archaeology for over 13 years, and I've come to find that Google changes its mind all the time. But one thing that is forever are statues and buildings, even if they change them. Yes, the shackle is broken off the statue of Lou's first foot. If you made it this far, well done. This kind of information is very hard for people to stomach. And look, it was for me too, but we're not even close to done yet. I still have 200 more facts to give you along with every book in the Bible, so stay tuned.
He's just kicking facts, man. One more. Let's talk ice wall for the dismount.
I can't believe the Nazis got this right. And the last time I talked about this, I just found this out, but this video got 12.6 million views. And that's why people know that this is the truth. This is why this idea gravitates towards them so much. Okay. Now let me explain it. The moon is a reflection of the earth. It shows like a map in the sky and shows all of our continents. And it shows how they're shown in an infrared vision.
Shout out to Vibes of the Cosmos.
In an infrared ray. So that's why the continents look a little bit off. I'll show you a different map later, but let me get back on this because I think I'm confusing you. Our oceans always constantly change in elevation, so you don't see the water on the infrared vision. This is the truth. This is where we live, and the more that you listen to the truth and nothing but that, the more at ease you will feel. And the reason why, when you're hearing me speak right now about this, you're feeling relaxed because you know that this is what is true, and you finally have come to it. You know, you're starting to remember why you came to Earth in the first place. So let me explain this a bit. This Earth, over on the right, this is all the frozen side. Every 26,000 years about, the sun makes a counterclockwise motion around everything. And the sun only exists on this right side of the map. Here's a sunken continent, that says Atlantis, which we all know exists a long time ago. It's just sunken. But you see Africa, United States, Asia, Europe, they're all over here. And this is the moon reflection map. The sun, every 26,000 years, moves around in about a quarter to a new section. Then it thaws out all the ice there. But since the sun only has so much of a reach where the warmth gets, it can only melt part of all the land that exists in this universe. So we only have these constants. And I told you before, the sea level is constantly changing. So that's why this map is a little bit different than the ones we're used to. And why there's more constants on this one, because some of them have been sunk in and we're not able to go to them anymore. That's why we have these ancient legends from thousands of years ago about like Lemuria and Mu and Atlantis. It's because those existed a long time ago, and we don't even have any books or anything that survived like 26,000 years that tell us the true history of everything. We probably do have them, but they're in the Vatican archive and no one can get in there. So basically, it's another thing the Germans got right about everything.
Everything, boss. Here's a great comment that just came in. Shout out to all my Nagaz leaving these great comments. Love to Joseph Alexander. He says, there is a travelogue called The Itineraries of Johannes Witte, W-I-T-T-E, de Hesse, H-E-S-S-E, from 1400, which mentions a sailing trip to the kingdom of Prester John on the Isle of Pentuxor, Pentoxoire, at the end of the earth. So where is the land of Prester John? Obviously, we know the Americas, India Superior, Connection, Grand Canyon, Zion, Utah, all our flow here. But does it connect to more lands beyond the poles? Of course, the Prester, Melchizedek, Prester, Priest, King Prester, John, King David would have lands and knowledge of lands beyond the poles.